Artemis, the goddess of animal magnetism and springs. If you're here, you're meant to hear this message. Kelly came to me with the idea that a part of Northwest Florida was originally the Garden of Eden. And Spirit is revealing truths to us through symbology. And we are going to talk about the springs, and springs being a portal. We're going to talk about life and death. We're going to talk about Artemis, and we're going to talk about star constellations and chakras on this realm and how chakras shift. So this piece turned into a map, and we are going to look at this map in a myriad of ways. Kelly is wearing a Mad Hatter hat with the rabbit inside. This means that she has gone down the rabbit hole. She is lifting the veil within her mind to truth. She is holding a spiral, and this spiral is Vortex Springs. And Vortex Springs looks like a vortex from up high, and it is a deep spring that holds caves. The next spring below that is Ponce de Leon Springs, and this is also a very beautiful emerald colored spring like the emerald green heart chakra. And there are many springs in between each of these springs, but the one that's most important, I think, this is my temporary opinion, is Mystic Springs. Mystic Springs is near the area that is said to be the Garden of Eden, and it has this fog that lifts up from it. Let's talk about spirit portals. Spirit portals is a region of space that has a 4-dimensional vibratory frequency. They call it an energy vortex. Notice Vortex Springs. A spirit portal is a doorway in the physical world that allows the free access to and from the spirit world. The existence of a portal can rely on a vortex of energy to sustain it. This is an area of mass energy in a high concentration, usually originating from magnetic, spiritual, or sometimes unknown sources that create powerful eddies that manifest a spiral of energy which can be positive or negative in nature. Vortexes tend to exist where there are strong concentrations of gravitational anomalies, and this in turn creates an area that can bend light and cause a considerable distortion in the human energy field. They have also been shown to be associated with ley lines and have been found to be considerably stronger at node points where several ley lines cross. Vortexes and portals can be categorized according to direction and nature of energy. Upflow vortexes are positive. This is where water is coming out. This is where energy is flowing upward out of the earth. These vortexes are generally revitalizing and feel positive. The energy feels more electric and magnetic, and it's said to boost spiritual skills to stretch and expand the consciousness. This energy is male or yang in nature and thus exhilarating and lively. Inflow vortexes, like water going down, are negative portals. This is where the energy is flowing inward toward the earth. The energy here feels heavier and more negative. Fear is often experienced at these sites if you are not ready for the energy of this place. These vortexes are linked with female or yin energy and are best for healing and self-realization. If you encounter a negative portal, you will feel like you're in the middle of a hurricane. Notice that word hurricane, of negative energy and emotions. You will feel anger, hate, fear, jealousy, and depression. Highly sensitive people will become victims here. So think about that lake that drains down. Mirrors and water are also popular ways of creating a portal to the other side. They are effective as long as the user knows how to use them properly, control them, and ultimately close them down properly afterwards. I don't know about this. I think it's all in divine timing. Opening and closing comes by a higher self and a spirit, and it all happens, opens and closes in divine timing. You might like to know that vortexes and portals open and close every 8 seconds, according to some people, scientists, and some shows I watched on Gaia. The vibe that I get is if your frequency matches the frequency of the vortex or the portal, you can go through the portal. If your energy does not match it, you will feel nothing. You will go through life experiences until you match that frequency. So we can kind of see why baptism was a significant ceremony in not just Christian religion, but religions and shamanic practices all over written history. And it's an act of cleansing the soul through the energetic portal known as springs or water. But choosing the correct water and the correct springs is essential. And we have to be led to it by divine timing. There was a story of these people who believe that they come from the underworld through San Marcos Springs. They were born of groundwater, kind of like a water nymph. And I thought that was interesting. They're called the Coahuiltecan creation. And they believe that life began in spring water. The white shaman Panel tells the story of the birth of the ancestors from the watery underworld. They talk about carrying torches to ignite the sun, and they serve as cosmic pillars to hold up the sky. This goes back to the cosmic turtle and the great elephant and the 7 chakras and the 8th flame. So this goes back to the number 8, and number 8 is a portal. And the number 8 is eternal life, and it's truth. So the desire for eternal youth is indeed very old. The myth of the fountain or spring with water that gives not only youth but also eternal life has been known in many cultures for millennia and represents a popular motif in various mythologies and religions. Herodotus mentioned the fountain of youth or magical springs in this story of the Ethiopians when he spoke of exceptionally long lifespans of people called the Marcobians, meaning long-lived, a legendary tribe. The natives of the Caribbean believed that a spring with magical properties existed in a mythical land called Bimini, where Ponce de Leon, the conqueror of Spain, set off on an expedition to find the Fountain of Youth in March of 1513. I don't know if Ponce de Leon was a shaman, but it takes being kind of a shaman to understand portals and consciousness and spirit, and how spirit and consciousness can travel. There's even an Indian mythology that mentions miraculous water. This is called the water of immortality. And to this day, people are still looking for the fountain of youth and have yet to find it. This is because the people looking for it don't know about bouncing our consciousness from one realm to the other, or timeline shifting, or raising their frequency. Let's talk about the dog people now, that there's dog people in your art. The characteristic of cynocephaly or cynocephalus, having the head of a dog or a jackal, is a widely attested mythical phenomenon existing in many forms and contexts. It literally means dog-headed, but there is a human body that is implied. This mythology is a legend all around the world, including Egypt and Greece. They are shown in books, comic books, graphic novels. They're associated with werewolfism and dogs that can talk. This makes me think of Twilight with the vampires. Saint Christopher was depicted as having the head of a dog. Anubis had the head of a dog. Now, this head of a dog is connected to Moscow and Russia. Keep that in mind because this is coming to us as an answer as well. Since no bones have been found that we know of a dog head with a human body, I'm going to give an allegory that I think may be possible. The golden compass reflects that human beings have an animal. This is like a spirit guide. All spirit guides are connected to an animal. And they say that we were cut from our animal. The golden compass actually reflects that we were cut from our animal, just like we were cut from God or cut from the holy dove. The holy dove is a dove. And if we were cut from our animal, this reflects that we were cut from being able to time travel and have a collective consciousness and be telepathic, basically have wings. So here we go to the movie, even Maleficent, where Maleficent was, her wings were cut and her power was stripped from her. Now, Maleficent is associated with the horns of the bull and had great power, but the power was taken by a bearded man. And this bearded man seems to be the Christ or the Mithra. Now, notice Dorothy has the dog. This is a symbol that she had a higher self that was a dog. Harry Potter had a higher self. His God and Father was a dog. And Mithra is associated with the bull. And Mithra was the original Christ. It predates Christ in Christianity. He was born of a virgin and died. All of that. And this cutting of the bull, and here Mithra is with his spirit animal. The cutting of the bull is another reflection that we were cut from our animal, cut from our bull, cut from our dog, cut from our higher self. And Mithra comes from Armenia, and they have these pointy hats like Santa Claus. So you have Mithra in your piece, and Mithra is kind of connected to the vampire because Jesus said, drink my blood and live forever. And then you have the wolf people and the vampire people, the dog people and the vampire people. Osiris's body was cut into 14 pieces, and they say 7 for her, 7 for him. So this reflects 2 worlds, parallel worlds. This gives us the Vesica Pisces. It also gives us the eye of the needle that Jesus spoke about. It's also the fish, the belly of the whale, and the ankh. So it's the most important symbol of all time. It also reflects a portal and a spring. Edgar Cayce says that we were born in the moon. So this means we were born in sin because the god of the moon was named Sin. And Plato and the Sumerians say that the androgynous ones come from the moon. The androgynous ones are like the vampires. They were male and female. They lived forever. They self-impregnated, and they had 2 souls. So Adam and Eve was both male and female, having 2 souls, and Adam was cut into Eve. But this story also talks about star constellations because the dog reflects Sirius B, the dog star. And this dog star is the Canis Major star system and reflects a place that is not here, but as above, so below. So there seems to be some sort of communication because you have 2 worlds in your piece that reflects a world of the dog and a world of the vampire, the Christ, and the Mithra. Now you have a crow in your piece, and this is what told me that you were Artemis. And I couldn't figure it out until I figured this out, until I saw this. So the crow is connected to Corvus, and Corvus is actually, it means crow. It depicts a raven, a bird associated with the stories about the god Apollo. The raven originally had white feathers. This reflects that the raven used to be a spirit guide. Spirit guides are usually white. And Apollo turned the raven black. Corvus, Coronis. So Apollo sent his sister Artemis to do away with Coronis. Sounds like coronavirus. And Apollo asked his sister to watch over the raven. And so you're holding an eye watching over the raven. Artemis is the goddess of the wilderness of animals. So here we are again talking about animals. She is about the moon. What did we talk about the moon? These are the androgynous beings. Jesus' mother self-impregnated. These are the androgynous ones. Drink my blood and live forever. And yet, there's the wolf pack, the dog people. We got to watch Twilight with different eyes now. So this is another piece of Artemis where she's surrounded by animals with wings. This was in 600 BC on a piece of pottery. Notice the water below her feet. Artemis is seen as being around nymphs. She is called the most beautiful, healthy, strong, active, bearing a quiver and a bow, and accompanied by a dog. So here's the dogs near you. But we have to understand ancient symbology. They were talking about places in the stars, but they were also talking about a power that we had that is connected to these stars. And Mithra is telling us we were cut from this power. And the story of Twilight, of the Mithra energy being kind of in a battle with the wolf people, but then coming together. So these nymphs are like water nymphs, and the nymphs are always associated with a spring. So here we're gonna connect the dog people with the vampire Christ Mithra people, and we're gonna go to the springs here with the water nymphs, and it's all gonna kind of come like a map to fruition. Now you do have the Lord's Supper there, and you do have a church with the phoenix and people seated in a yoga position. But to understand the truth, we have to look at the mirror, because the portal and water is a mirror. So this is the mirror here. Suddenly the crow is gone, and all we have is a connection between the dogs and the Mithra energy. So Twilight, the wolves, and the vampires work together. I want you to notice something very important. It says help at 6 o'clock on the piece of wood. It said H3O2, but it actually says help. And we're supposed to help the energy of that place for some reason. E equals MC squared backwards reflects a backwards world or an underworld. A world that is backwards, kind of like Stranger Things with the upside down world. The train with the spotlight in it reflects shifting dimensions. Harry Potter leaving the Muggle world, getting on that train and going to Hogwarts. It takes a train. A train reflects the number 11. A train track looks like the number 11. The sun flips every 11 years. There's something about the sun and portals and the dimensional train and water. The vortex and the springs, the pure springs and the energy that it creates. And the mist from the volcano, this mist. H3O is water that has an extra element. And I've been researching what people think about H3O, and I believe that Spirit told me to begin drinking magnetic water. Magnetized water goes back to animal magnetism. And it basically raises your vibrations and does something. I don't know what it does. It does something that can't be identified. It's almost as if you're trying to identify the invisible and you just can't. It's an invisible thing that occurs. But animal magnetism was a term by a man called Franz Mesmer. This is where the term mesmerizing comes from. So this is an invisible natural force that is possessed by all living things, including humans, animals, vegetables, and water. He believed that the force could have physical effects, including healing, and he tried persistently, but without success, to achieve scientific miracles. If you have a lot of animal magnetism, which is the term for Artemis, then you have the power to manipulate magnetic fluid, which affects other people. This is how you raise the dead and heal people and shift them, because you are water. So if you are magnetized with animal magnetism, you can affect the energy within the water within other people. But your body must be filled with living waters like spring water. It is vital energy, basically. And I magnetize my water every day. I drink magnetized water. I drink magnetized spring water every day. This is your piece as a mandala. Notice how the center of it makes a perfect snowflake. When you add frequency to water, it turns to a beautiful snowflake. When you add untruths to it, ugly words, it turns into something that doesn't make any sense. So magnetism is paramount. X marks the spot are on either side of your shoulders, and you now have a vortex in the all-seeing eye above your head. When Christ said, "Living waters will pour from my heart," and Christ walked on water, and Christ turned water into wine and controlled the water of the weather and the oceans, Christ is water. The dog is air element. or maybe earth, and the crow and the bird is air. The number 88 reflects portals, double portals, two portals next to each other like two waterfalls. And Christ is actually pointing to two waterfalls with living waters pouring from his heart. Notice that you have wings. Notice the Merkaba about under your chin, spinning. We have to raise our frequency through animal magnetism like Merkaba. These are all truths from Artemis. What? Notice the Ankh around 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock. This really speaks of two ponds, two springs. Go into one spring and you bounce your consciousness into another spring out of a portal. I feel guilty about posting this on YouTube because I don't think everyone is supposed to know about this. This should be kept secret. It should be only available to those who are ready to hear these truths and are ready to open the portal of their heart and bounce to a higher reality. A more heavenly reality, actually. Thank you for the energy that you have to teach us, Kelly, about the ancient search for the Garden of Eden and the Fountain of Youth. The truth is here. We just have to find it like a map, and X marks the spot.